It was just after the first frost when I opened the drawer again. That old wooden drawer with the brass handle, its edges worn from years of reaching in for the same few items. But this time it wasn't for the sewing kit or the lavender sachet. This time I was searching for something I didn't yet know existed. My name is Eleanor. I'm 71 now, and I live alone in the same Pennsylvania farmhouse where I raised 3 children and buried one husband. George died 12 years ago in the autumn, when the golden leaves seemed too beautiful to match the grief swelling inside me. Since then I've filled the silence with baking, knitting, and long walks to the orchard. But lately, even the sound of apple leaves crunching under my boots couldn't drown out the question I didn't know how to ask. Had I truly been known? That morning, I was dusting the windowsill in the guest bedroom when I noticed the old chest of drawers again. George used to keep letters in there. Bills, military correspondence, and birthday cards too stiff to throw away. I never bothered with them. They were his, and like so many things in marriage, they were both ours and not. But something drew me to it now. The way the light filtered across the grain, or maybe the silence that had grown too thick. I opened the drawer and shifted the envelopes, expecting insurance papers. What I found was something else entirely. A letter addressed to me. In careful cursive, folded twice, dated April 3, 1983. The envelope was unsealed. The letter inside was 3 pages long. It began like this: Eleanor, there are things I never told you. Not because I didn't want to, but because I was afraid you might love me less for knowing them. I sat down hard on the bed. My knees didn't want to hold me up. The letter wasn't from George. It was from Henry. Henry Carlisle. A name I hadn't spoken aloud in over 4 decades. When I was 26, I taught high school English. Henry was the art teacher. He painted with oils, always had clay beneath his fingernails, and wore the same corduroy blazer until the elbows frayed. We were never lovers. We were never even officially close. But something about our time in that dusty teacher's lounge, between stacks of exams and half-warm coffee, had always lived in me, quietly, furtively. He had left the school suddenly in '83. I thought it had nothing to do with me. Apparently I was wrong. His letter was full of confessions, not salacious, not even romantic in the conventional sense. He wrote about how he admired my stillness, how the way I read books made him believe stories could change people. He told me I once smiled at him after a faculty meeting when he was considering leaving everything behind. That smile, he wrote, had made him stay for 3 more months. He mentioned poems I had forgotten I shared. And he ended the letter with a question. If things had been different, would you have sat on the porch with me in the evenings and listened to the wind through the trees? I held that letter in shaking hands, the ink slightly smudged, as though it too had weathered time and longing. I didn't cry. Not at first. I just sat there, letting decades roll through me like tide. I thought about what life could have been like. If I had written poetry instead of raising pigs. If I had kissed Henry Carlisle under that apple tree like I sometimes imagined. But those thoughts were clouds, not regrets exactly. Just softer possibilities. I found myself writing him back, even though I had no address. Henry, I don't know where you are now, or if you're even alive. But I read your letter today. And if the porch were still there, I would sit beside you. We could listen together in silence, because I know now what I didn't then. That not all loves have to be lived to be real. I folded the letter and placed it back in the drawer beside his. The two of them side by side like strangers passing on a train. That evening, I walked to the edge of the orchard and stood where the air smells like cider and leaves. I looked out at the land that held so many versions of me. The girl who didn't know what she wanted. The woman who thought she had to choose just one life. The widow who forgot that memory was its own form of presence. I whispered thank you into the dusk. To him. Me. Time itself. And then I went inside and made tea. Tomorrow I'll begin writing again. I'll write poems about porches, about silence, about the way some things bloom too late but still bloom all the same. And maybe, just maybe, I'll sit outside with a second cup of tea just in case.